Hi Rubens, it's me, Ranjan. Just thought I'd give you a quick hello and ask you what you think of the latest in terms of Brexit. So let's have a quick look at the big story in the Sunday Times that's been out today. See what you think. Ba-da-ba-da-ba. Have you heard about it? Basically, our finance minister, Sajid Javid, who's ex-Deutsche Bank, he's not been sacked, but he's been undermined. Have you heard this word before? Undermined. To undermine someone is to basically take away their authority, is to say you have no authority. You shouldn't really be here. You don't belong here. To make them resign in a way or bully them. Javid rows with Johnson after second aid fired. Second aid, okay. Chancellor accuses Number 10 of undermining his authority as PM's advisor dismisses Treasury staffer. So Treasury staffer, what's that? It's someone who works for the Treasury. Sajid Javid is the Chancellor, so that's the Finance Minister, so that means he's in charge of the Treasury. So it's all money related. So it means Boris Johnson's advisor got rid of one of Sajid Javid's advisors. Interesting hierarchy. And this is by Steve Swinford, who is Times. I think he used to be at the Telegraph. It's all very government. They say that there's a distinction between the press and the government, but there really isn't. Sajid Javid was absolutely furious over a decision by Boris Johnson's most senior aide to sack one of his advisors without his knowledge. The Chancellor confronted the Prime Minister during a meeting yesterday morning and demanded to know why Dominic Cummings had dismissed Sonia Khan, a key member of his team. Mr. Cummings was also present. In the first big row between Number 10 and Number 11 during Mr. Johnson's administration, Mr. Javid is understood to have said that Mr. Cummings had undermined his authority as Chancellor and he wanted Ms. Khan to return. She has to come back. Arr. He does not consider the matter closed, a source said. He also questioned whether proper process had been followed in sacking Miss Khan, who was escorted out of Downing Street by the police. One source said that Mr. Javid had raised his voice during the meeting and claimed that Mr. Johnson had been apologetic. Really? Apologies from Johnson? Don't think so. There were questions over whether Mr. Cummings had told the Prime Minister about his decision to sack Miss Khan before he informed her. Downing Street declined to comment. Oh my God, so Cummings is out of control. The dispute highlights the extent of the power that Mr. Johnson has invested in Mr. Cummings. So Cummings is a bit like Epstein, isn't he? Somebody has just said, right, the guy who ran Victoria's Secret said, right, Epstein, do what you want, power of attorney. And so he said, okay, fine. So he's a Rasputin figure. The dispute highlights the extent of the power that Mr. Johnson has invested in Mr. Cummings, the former head of the Vote Leave campaign, amid suggestions that he holds more sway than most members of the cabinet. Mr. Cummings was unrepentant last night, telling a meeting of government advisors, if you don't like how I run things, there's the door. Fuck off. Ms. Khan was sacked by Mr. Cummings during an angry face-to-face meeting after he claimed that she had misled him over contact with Philip Hammond. Ms. Khan worked for Mr. Hammond whilst he was Chancellor. A senior government source said that she was not being held responsible for the leak of the Operation Yellowhammer contingency plans for a no-deal Brexit. So that was last Sunday, Operation Yellowhammer, the newspaper that released it, the Sunday Times. So they know where all the information is coming from and they're acting as though, it's a mystery. One Westminster source said that Mr. Javid's authority had been weakened, highlighting that Miss Khan was the second member of Mr. Javid's team to be dismissed by Number 10 within a month. This week, Downing Street failed to tell the Chancellor that Mr. Johnson was planning to cut fuel duty in the government's first budget. Mr. Javid is thought to have concerns over the cost of the policy. Right, so basically, Javid has been given instructions as to what to do with the economy by Dominic Cummings, and Javid just has to accept it. Terrible. On Wednesday, the Chancellor's first speech on the economy was cancelled 24 hours before it had been due to deliver it in Birmingham. They're trying to weaken him as much as possible. They want to put Sajid in his proverbial place, a source said. The advisor is collateral damage in this. So Sonia Khan, it's just incidental that she's there. They would do it to whoever is around him. A former aide told the Politico website, the truth is they see Saj as a patsy. That's why he's in there. Whether it's staff or it's spending decisions, they think he won't kick up a fuss. 4 female advisors have been sacked by Downing Street since Ms. Johnson took office. Mr. Cummings denied that he was sexist. If you have a problem, speak to any of the women I've worked with, he told his advisors. Ms. Khan denies any wrongdoing. A Downing Street source said the PM and the Chancellor are working closely together. It's already been an incredibly productive relationship. So total bollocks from Downing Street. Now let's have a look at some of the comments. They'll be funny. They'll probably be quite racist as well, because we're talking about the Times. In any other organisation, Cummings would have been dismissed for the way he has handled this. Under employment law, in a case of gross misconduct, an employee can be summoned. How spiteful is that? Have their company assets, such as a telephone, taken away, dismissed and escorted from the premises. For a personal phone to be confiscated and then to be escorted from the premises by a policeman suggests either that a crime has been committed or that the boss has become hysterical. I thought the singular point of the administration was to claim sovereignty of our parliament from the unelected bureaucrats. Guess I was wrong. Okay. So basically some people are blaming the civil servant. So many of you are just lapping up the rumour mill again. We cannot know whether any of this is true. Anything to try to undermine Johnson's government. Goebbels would be proud of you. Goebbels is doing the sacking. Goebbels, an interesting analogy. Boris Jacob, will Hugo Boss do uniforms this time? Right, so loads of Nazi comparisons. Ha ha ha. I am going to stop now.